Dear alcohol, we had a long run, didn't we? You came to every dinner, every heartbreak, every celebration. You were there when I needed courage, when I wanted silence, when I didn't want to feel anything at all. You were always easy to find, in the fridge, on the shelf, in someone's hand saying, just one. At first you made everything brighter. I laughed louder, danced harder, loved more recklessly. You whispered that I was the fun one, the brave one, the bold one. But somewhere along the way, you stopped being a guest and became the host. You made promises you couldn't keep, of relief, of escape, of control, and I kept believing you. You blurred my edges until I forgot who I was without you. You took the night and left me with mornings that felt like punishment, the headaches, the guilt, the hollow questions. You made me smaller while pretending to make me free. You drove me into the ground over and over, and somehow I still kept coming back for more. I spent months upon months running from you, in rehabs, safe behind walls and beautiful gated gardens where you couldn't reach me. But as soon as I returned to the wild, there you were, waiting for me. Like you'd been doing push-ups in the corner, training for my return, ready to pull me back into the chaos. And I fell for it time and time again, but not this time. The honeymoon is over, baby. It's never going to be that way again. So this is where we part ways. No anger, no shouting, just a quiet decision. Goodbye to the crippling anxiety. Goodbye to the endless worry about my alcohol-fueled actions, the damage I caused, the relationships I ruined, the nights I can't fully remember. Goodbye to the shame that followed me into every sunrise. I'm done letting you narrate my story. You don't get to decide who I am or what kind of peace I earn. I'm keeping the laughter, the warmth, the courage, but I'm taking them back on my own terms. You can stay in the past where you belong, because I'm walking toward mornings that don't need apologies and nights that don't need a drink to matter. Thank you for what you taught me. Goodbye. When people talk about saying goodbye to alcohol, they often imagine it's just about willpower, a single choice, a firm no. But anyone who's lived it knows it's not that simple. Alcohol is woven into so many of life's rituals, birthdays, weddings, farewells, even grief. For many, it's a symbol of connection, of release, and that's what makes it so powerful and so deceptive. It doesn't show up as a villain, it arrives as a friend. For years, that's how it felt for me. A drink wasn't danger. It was comfort. It was social lubrication, courage in a glass. It was the difference between silence and laughter, between loneliness and belonging. But somewhere between the first drink and the last hangover, something shifted. The comfort became a cage. What started as a choice became a craving, and that craving, well, science explains it better than anything else. Alcohol changes your brain. That's not a metaphor, it's biology. When you drink, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical of pleasure, reward, and motivation. At first, it feels incredible. You feel more confident, less anxious, more alive. But the brain is adaptive. Over time, it stops producing as much dopamine on its own because it's getting it artificially through alcohol. That's when tolerance builds. You drink more to feel less. According to research published in The Lancet Psychiatry, long-term alcohol exposure alters neural pathways that control emotion and decision-making, especially in areas like the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. That's why quitting feels like a war, not against alcohol, but against your own brain's rewiring. It's why just stopping feels impossible, even when you want to. But here's the good news. The brain can heal. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire and recover, begins as soon as you stop drinking. Studies show that within weeks, grey matter volume starts to increase, sleep improves, and natural dopamine production starts to normalize. You literally start to come back to life, neuron by neuron, thought by thought. Let's be honest, sobriety isn't all sunlight and smooth mornings. At first, it's raw. Without alcohol, there's nowhere to hide from your emotions. The sadness you drowned, the anxiety you silenced, they all come rushing back like uninvited guests. But those emotions aren't enemies, they're messengers. They're what you've been trying to avoid, but they also hold the key to healing. According to clinical psychologist Dr. Sarah Bowen, who researches mindfulness-based relapse prevention, the ability to sit with discomfort without reacting is one of the strongest predictors of long-term recovery. Sobriety teaches emotional literacy, how to feel without fleeing, how to listen to your inner signals instead of numbing them, And that's where the real strength begins. Here's something alcohol never told us. Joy doesn't disappear without it. It just changes form. In the early stages of sobriety, you have to relearn what pleasure feels like without the shortcut. That might sound dull, but it's actually an invitation. The first time you wake up clear-headed, the first time you laugh without shame, the first time you dance and actually remember every song, those are small miracles. Research backs this up. Natural rewards like exercise, connection, music, and purpose-driven work activate the same reward circuits as alcohol, but in sustainable brain-healing ways. Your dopamine system starts to rebuild, and over time, things that once felt flat begin to glow again. It's not instant, it's gradual, but it's real. One of the hardest parts of saying goodbye to alcohol isn't the cravings, it's the culture. How do you explain to friends that you're not drinking, not because you're boring or can't handle it, but because you've finally decided you deserve peace? It helps to remember you're not alone. Globally, the trend towards sober curiosity is growing. Millions are rethinking their relationship with alcohol, inspired by movements like Dry January and Sober October. You don't have to fit in by pouring a drink. You can lead by raising a different kind of glass, one filled with presence, clarity, and self-respect. Sobriety isn't about restriction. It's about liberation. It's not saying no to alcohol, it's saying yes to yourself. Yes to mornings that start with gratitude instead of regret. Yes to conversations you actually remember. Yes to healing the relationships that matter most. And maybe, most importantly, yes to finding out who you are when you're not blurred by something else's influence. Because that version of you, the real one, is worth meeting. Looking back, I realize I don't hate alcohol. Hate would mean I still give it power. No, I'm grateful. Grateful for the lessons it forced me to learn the hard way. It taught me that escape is never freedom, that courage borrowed is courage lost. It taught me that real connection doesn't need lubrication, it needs honesty, and that peace doesn't live in the bottom of a glass. It grows quietly in sober mornings and honest nights. Sobriety isn't just emotional or spiritual, it's physiological. Studies from the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism show that even after years of heavy drinking, significant brain recovery occurs within the first year of abstinence. Memory improves, cognitive clarity returns, emotional regulation strengthens, the body follows suit, liver function improves, immune systems rebound, and the risk of cancer and cardiovascular disease declines. Every cell begins to repair. Recovery doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. Every mistake, every relapse becomes data, proof of how far you've come, not evidence of failure. And one day you wake up and you realize you're not just not drinking, you're living, fully, presently, unapologetically. You start to feel pride instead of shame, strength instead of craving, clarity instead of confusion. That's what saying goodbye to alcohol really means. Not a loss, but a return to yourself. So, dear alcohol, thank you for the memories, the lessons, and the illusions. But this chapter is closed. I'm not angry. I'm awake. You were never the problem. I was just lost enough to believe you were the solution. Now I know better. And knowing better means living better. So I'll raise my glass of water, of tea, of anything that doesn't steal my peace, and toast to mornings that shine and nights that don't need escape. Because this isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of everything. Goodbye, alcohol, and hello to new me. Thank you so much for listening. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more content on healing and recovery. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. See you next time.